Teen marijuana use closes doors.
Why should we care if our teens use marijuana? There are many negative consequences of marijuana use that can impact teens, starting with the legal problems. Furthermore, there are many possible serious health effects: the risk of addiction, potentially lower academic achievement, and drastic changes in personality. What do we know about teen marijuana use today? To begin with, teens clearly are getting the message that cigarettes are bad for them. That's good news. However, they don't realize that marijuana use actually may be worse than cigarettes. Nowadays, more 12th graders smoke marijuana than smoke cigarettes. In 2011, nearly 1/4 of high school seniors used marijuana at least once in the past month. It is particularly worrisome that 1 in 15 of these teens smoke marijuana daily. 2/3 of all the people in the United States who began smoking marijuana in 2010 were younger than age 18. That is a total of 1.5 million new marijuana smokers in 2010. We know that the rate of marijuana use increases with age.
This chart shows that the rates of marijuana use increase with age and grade in school. You can see that kids in 10th grade use much more than the 8th graders. 12th graders use still more. These data are from the annual high school survey. What we do not see in this particular chart is that these alarming trends continue in college. The rates and frequency of use get higher.
When kids believe a substance can harm them, they use it less or not at all. Right now, kids have a fairly low perception of the risk of the use of marijuana. As a result, marijuana use is rising. This is of concern. Medical research shows that marijuana use can impact on the brain, which isn't fully developed until a person reaches the mid-20s. Research also tells us that marijuana use is associated with the development of serious long-term mental health problems.
Why are more kids smoking pot? Marijuana use is portrayed in the media as being common and as no big deal. It is used by people teens admire, such as movie idols, musicians, and sometimes by athletes. This leads to a false perception that marijuana use is both acceptable and safe to use.
Teens hear very confusing and mixed messages about marijuana. For example, they hear that it may be so-called medicine. It is not medicine. Medicines are subject to rigorous research standards to confirm that they are safe, effective, and prescribed at the correct dose before they are approved by the FDA and available by prescription. Some suggest that marijuana should be legal.
These types of messages are confusing to teens as well as to adults. Teens need to know these facts. Most people do not use marijuana. Marijuana is not a medicine. Marijuana is not safe to use.
Some parents think that marijuana is harmless, basing their opinion on experiences with pot during their youth. It is not the marijuana they may have tried when they were younger. The increased demand for higher potency marijuana and improved cultivation techniques have resulted in today's marijuana having the highest levels of THC ever recorded. The THC is the active ingredient in marijuana, the chemical that produces the high. Today's marijuana is 244% more potent than marijuana in 1986. This graph shows the increase in potency of marijuana between 1985 and 2007. Of course, with higher potency comes the greater potential for addiction. Contrary to popular thought, marijuana can be very addicting. About 9% of people who use marijuana will become addicted to it. Early marijuana use increases susceptibility to addiction. 16% of marijuana users who start in their teens become dependent. 25% of daily users become dependent. Early marijuana use increases the risk of addiction to other drugs, such as cocaine, heroin, or prescription drugs.
With these brief facts as background, think about the many consequences resulting from marijuana use. Long-term regular marijuana use can impair memory, attention span, and the ability to understand complex information. Marijuana use can cause physical problems related to cardiovascular and lung function, including cancer. Marijuana smokers face rapid lung destruction years earlier than tobacco smokers.
So, what does marijuana actually do to the brain?
The human brain goes through the most growth during the adolescent years. Heavy marijuana use can damage developing brains in teens and young adults. Long-term marijuana use causes changes in the brain that are similar to those caused by long-term cocaine and heroin use. Though they may not be apparent at first, the most enduring effects are seen in decision-making, concept formation, and planning. Even after heavy users have stopped, these effects can continue. Mental health consequences are also associated with marijuana use. These include an increase in the prevalence of depression and anxiety with higher rates of marijuana use. Teens who smoke marijuana at least once a month are 3 times more likely to have suicidal thoughts than non-users. Using marijuana may increase the chance of psychosis. Heavy marijuana users are more likely to be diagnosed with schizophrenia later in life. Marijuana use doubles the risk and hastens the onset of schizophrenia.
Parents and teens may not know that there is a strong correlation between marijuana use and academic achievement. However, this is not true for all teens who use marijuana, but a strong possibility still exists. Compared with non-drug users, teens in high school who have tried marijuana are 3 times more likely to earn a C average and 6 to 7 times more likely to earn a D average. Adolescents who use marijuana weekly are almost 6 times more likely to cut class or skip school as those who do not. Marijuana use is associated with lower grade point average and poor school performance, negative attitudes towards school, increased rates of absenteeism. There also is a strong link between marijuana use and dropping out of high school. A longitudinal survey of 1,392 teens aged 16 to 18 showed that a teenage marijuana user's odds of dropping out are more than twice as great as a non-user. Students who use marijuana before the age of 15 are 3 times more likely to drop out of school before age 16 and 2 times more likely to skip school.
These trends continue into the college years.
There is a link between continuous college enrollment and marijuana use. In 2010, 18.5% of young adults aged 18 to 25 were current marijuana users. This is the age range of most college students. Research shows that marijuana use increases in college. About 38% of students use marijuana pre-college. An additional 25% use marijuana after starting college. Of students who do not use prior to college, 74% were offered marijuana during college, and over half of those continue to use marijuana.
This is what we would like parents to know.
Marijuana use can interfere with academic achievement in middle school, high school, college, and in later life.
Marijuana use can cause short and long-term health problems. Parents are the greatest influence on their children's decisions to use marijuana. Another video we have made, What Parents Need to Know, discusses this topic.
Parents should talk openly with their children about marijuana and the negative effects of its use.
When you talk with your teen, you may find that your teen may agree with you that it's unwise, unhealthy, and illegal to use marijuana. Or your teen may not accept this view because of conflicting factors in your teen's experience. It is important to respectfully discuss this with your teen.
Your teen may have several peers who use marijuana regularly and do well in school. This is quite possible. For some, the effects of marijuana don't appear for a while. Others never exhibit bad effects. But no one knows who will experience the negative impact of marijuana. Is the uncertainty worth the risk? You should let your teen know that you think the risk is real and not worth taking.
There may be another factor influencing your teen that is very confusing. This is the large and well-funded campaign to normalize marijuana use, to make use a normal part of everyday life. Today, this pro-marijuana movement is highly visible in the press. The movement is supporting medical marijuana, as well as state and federal legislation that would legalize marijuana. There are many who would stand to gain financially from such initiatives. Others believe that it is everyone's right to choose what they do and the government and law should not interfere. However, the social fallout in terms of health and lower achievement would be devastating.
When you have these discussions, tell your teen not to use marijuana, that you think the risk is real, and that so much could be at stake.
Don't let marijuana interfere with your teen's life.
Help keep the door wide open to your teen's future.